Hi, and welcome to this quick video tutorial on navigating around the scene in Blender. When you first launch Blender, it'll pop up with this little splash screen. Just click anywhere in empty space to get rid of it. The basic controls for navigating around the scene are fairly easy. If you want to zoom in and out, just scroll the mouse wheel. If you press and hold the mouse wheel and move the mouse around, it will rotate around wherever you've got in focus. I'll explain that in a second. To pan, if you press and hold shift and move the mouse wheel, move the mouse around with the middle mouse button selected, that will allow you to pan around the screen. To select an object, just click on it with the left mouse button, and to group select, you can click and drag if the box select is selected up here. So you can deselect just by clicking anywhere in empty space. Now, I said earlier that you'll rotate around whatever object you've got in focus. By that I mean if you select an object and then you press period on the numpad, it will zoom into that object, which is what I mean when I say that that object is in focus. If you select multiple objects and then press period on the numpad, it'll zoom in and center all of those objects. If you don't have a numpad, then Blender is going to be harder for you to use, so I really suggest using it on a computer with a numpad. Generally, you're going to want to use this on a fairly powerful computer anyway, because it is a 3D graphics program. It does work best on a desktop. You can use it without a numpad, but it gets a little bit more complicated. You can also sort of buy, sort of a separate numpad if you're using it on a laptop or whatever. So if you don't have a numpad, then the easiest way to focus on a object is to select it, click on View, and then you can click on Frame Selected. You can also click on Home, which will frame all the objects in your scene. It's not that convenient to keep on going up to View and selecting something, so one thing you can do is you can set your own shortcuts in Blender for pretty much anything. So if I click on View and then I go over to Frame Selected and I right click, I can click on Change Shortcuts, and then I can choose whatever key I want to be that shortcut. So it probably makes sense for it to be F for focus if you don't have a numpad. So I'm just going to press F, and now whenever I press F, it'll focus. Right. So that's the very basics of navigation. I'm just going to change that shortcut back, because otherwise I'll get confused, since I've been using this program for about 15 years now. And it's always been period on the numpad. Right, so that's back to that. To set different views, so to go from this sort of view to a front view, you can press 1 on the numpad. To go into a side view, you can press 3, and to go into a top view, you can press 7. To switch between orthographic and perspective view, you can press 5 on the numpad. So if you don't have a numpad, again, then to switch between perspective and orthographic view, you can click here. And to switch between sort of front, top and side views, you can click up here in the little sort of gizmos. So I mean, that's actually fairly practical, I think. So that's the basics of how to navigate around a scene in Blender. There's lots and lots of videos that will go into much finer detail, much more detail on the blender.org website, which are really very good. There's also 1,000,001 videos on YouTube about how to use Blender. If you do watch those, just make sure that they're talking about Blender 2.8 or later, because the user interface changed fairly radically with the 2.8 update. So in the next video, I'll show you how to use the MakeTile plugin to make some tiles of your own, and there's also a video which will eventually be a series on making a dungeon from scratch using MakeTile, which will show you how to make lots and lots of different tile types and how to produce a dungeon layout as well. Okay, thanks for watching, and I'll see you again soon.